Welcome back to this special edition of Consider This. I'm Melisa, Idris, with me Sharaad, Kuttan. Yesterday, there was a peaceful gathering of about 80 to 100 people, comprising representatives of NGOs, human rights activists, University Student Association leaders and members of the public. Now, this was a leaderless assembly and it was held to demand a clear answer on the ongoing political turmoil. Joining us on the show now to discuss this further, we have Fadiah Nadwa Fikri, lawyer and activist. Fadiah, welcome to the show. This demonstration was dubbed Demokrasi Mati, Ayuh Turun ke Jalan, right? So democracy is dead, let's go to the streets. Yeah. What led you to characterize this current crisis as a death of democracy, so to speak?
I think the betrayal that is happening is pretty real, and people feel that they're left out of the whole process. People in power, in positions of power, scheming and plotting without people knowing what's going on and what's going to happen to the reform agenda. People feel like we voted you in, and now you're doing this to us. And also the thought of having the kleptocrats that are facing trials right now in court, what's going to happen to them? Are they going to drop the charges against them, for example? So what's going to happen in terms of race relations in this country? Are we going to be more and more racist? I think people are scared.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but you know, what about the fact that at this point in time, the Post-Pakatan Nasional gambit is over? They no longer, PAS and UMNO no longer support Tun Dr. Mahathir. He's already stated several times now that he would not allow for UMNO to come back en bloc, or in fact, he would not accept UMNO and, you know, whatever conditions might have been put forth as a way or condition for kind of a unity government with them. So, I mean, isn't that issue already allayed, that there's no chance of the kleptocrats coming back?
Who's going to assure us that it's not going to happen? We don't even know what's going on now. A lot of people don't even understand what unity government means. No one is explaining that to the public. And also there are a lot of things that are kept secret, you know, the dealing and wheeling, everything is like going on without the public knowing. So I think the public has every right to be angry. The public has every right to think that the worst is going to happen, because in the first place, this should not have happened.
Okay, but let's ask ourselves the question about who this public is. I mean, you are an activist, you're particularly aware of politics and the personalities. There are a lot of people who aren't, right? I mean, what percentage of the population really is attentive to the kinds of issues that you are foregrounding? Aren't you a minority in this regard?
It's really hard to answer that question. I think as a citizen of this country, as a rakyat, I feel affected by what's going on. And when you talk to other people, when you talk to students, when you talk to the youth, for example, on social media, you can see people are having this kind of discussion and asking, what do we do? Yeah, we can't just let the political elite to determine the destiny of this country, and we have to do something about it. And yeah, I think we've learned a lot, you know, before GE14, and we don't want that to repeat.
And that's fair. So you mentioned a bit earlier, Fadiah, that there's a lot of fear, a lot of confusion surrounding everything that's happened in the last 4 days or so. How did the protest last night, and how are you personally helping provide more clarity and perhaps calming the situation down? Or is it the opposite? Do you want people to get riled up and upset?
I think I want people to be upset. I want people to have that anger translated into action, because it's about us. It's about the people. It's about the public. It's about the rakyat. Democracy, that's what democracy means, yeah? It's about trying to tell people that all source of power, all source of sovereignty must emanate from the people. But clearly what's going on now, politically, people are left out of the equation.
But isn't that also a part of the nature of representative democracy? It's not a, you know, it's not a daily plebiscite on what people should do or what government should do. It is, we have taken the decision to elect somebody as our representative, and we have to trust them for at least 5 years to make those decisions. I mean, isn't just the nature of representative democracy?
But in the interest of the people, but not in the interest of the political elite. Yeah. So what about the people now?
Okay, I want to ask you this. It sounds, strangely enough, very similar to what Dr. Mahathir is arguing. He's saying the political elites have run away with politics, and therefore he wants now a chance to form a government that's apolitical. I mean, in fact, that's how it's framed in many media reports. He wants either merit-based political, order or cabinet at least. And so, do you agree with him? And do you think that Dr. Mahathir, forming this non-party political-based cabinet will solve the problem?
Does that mean he didn't believe in the reform agenda?
What do you think?
I'm throwing that question to him, actually. When you said that, what happened after GE14 is no longer relevant now we have to change the whole thing, what are you telling us? We voted you in because we wanted you to carry out certain things that we wanted as a rakyat. But now you're saying something different, and we don't even understand, what certain things mean.
Is it a zero-sum game? I mean, can you have a so-called unity government and still pursue the reform agenda? Can that still be the number one thing?
They would have to assure us that they can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the betrayal, I think people feel betrayed.
It's the trust deficit.
Yes, exactly. They've not addressed that part. Why did the political elite even allow this to happen in the first place? No one explains anything to
Okay,
the public.
let's put it this way. I mean, it wasn't, as far as we know, the narrative is very clear. It wasn't Tun that precipitated this crisis. It was in fact, individuals within PKR, the bastion of the reform agenda, that precipitated this. I mean, that's where the problem seems to have lied. Factionalism within those who, in fact, have very similar rhetoric as you do about the interests of the people, about changing this country to make it better, inclusive, whatever, right? So shouldn't the anger or questions be about why is it this elite, with the kind of rhetoric they have, then pursue what seems to be a very self-interested politics?
I seriously don't know how to address that question, because it's always easy to say that only Azmin and the gang, are orchestrating this whole thing, and now they're like, oh, okay, the game has changed. But who can we trust?
Okay.
A lot of things have been kept secret. So I don't know. They're not being transparent, for example. So I can't even make conclusive arguments, for example,
but
understanding what's going on.
You are on the ground, you talk to people, you were part of this demonstration yesterday. What do you think are some of the competing narratives that are shaping people's understanding of this current crisis? How are people understanding it?
People feel that the people's mandate has been betrayed. They feel like old politics is going to come back. They're very afraid that there's always that possibility that the current government or the interim government or the future government would accommodate people who would advance rhetoric that are racist, that are divisive. People feel the fear. Even before we started with that event yesterday, the protests, even my own friends messaged me and said, I don't think I'm going because I'm scared. People say that someone would stage a riot. And for me, I was like, wow, the fear is real. But who's addressing this fear? Who's creating this fear? I want to know that. And these leaders of ours do not provide any answers to that question.
I want to ask
That's
you...
why people we have to come together, do something, and then maybe strengthen this movement and tell the government or the leaders to listen to us and explain what's going on and stop trying to seize power from the people.
Okay, very quick answer from you. When you look around, our institutions are still working, we have no civil strife, or we have had no violence, there's a process in place now, the palace is guided by the Constitution. Don't those facts give you hope that actually we are evolving politically?
Things could change. Things have been changing rapidly for the past 3 days. So even now, I think a lot of people are arguing on Twitter, on Facebook, what's going to happen to the PH manifesto? Is it going to stand? So some people have burned the manifesto because they feel like, oh, it's gone, it's a gone case. But who is explaining this to the people? So yeah, how are we going to make you accountable? What are we going to hold on to? I don't have the answer because they're not giving me the answer. They're not giving us the answer.
Okay, Fadiah, we're going to take a quick break and come back and continue this conversation with you a little bit later in the show. But first, after this, we're going to take a look at the media's role in shaping the narrative in the past few days. We'll be back with more on Consider This, so don't go anywhere.